Hey everybody, Jake back here. Welcome to Canvas Conversations. On this episode, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be finishing the painting that we started in episode 1, where I sat down and talked to my friend Jonathan while I did what's called an underpainting. And so we got the underpainting done while we were doing the interview, and that's pretty cool. This is kind of what we've got going on right now. Ta-da! And it's all right. I mean, it ain't nothing to write home about. Let's put it that way. But it looks okay. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to start putting on the actual color of the skin. Because up until now, we've just kind of been using just some like real super neutral colors to block in where lights and shadows are hitting the face. I'm really glad that Jonathan was my first guest. Um, Now, with Caucasian people, you can buy stuff like this, right? And I have some of this because I cheat. Because I can make this color just fine, but if it's already made for me. But this is not a color that like you use as skin tone. This is a color that like it's a base and you add things to it. And so don't just use this kind of thing as a skin tone. And don't think that you have to go out and buy a skin tone in order to paint portraits. All this is right here is it's white and red and a little bit of yellow. It's very, very light orangey pink. So it's nothing that you can't mix. Sometimes you get lazy and you're just like, just start with it and go on. So that's that. However, my friend Jonathan is half Japanese. Man, I hope I got his dad's nationality right. I believe I did. And, because he has Asian genetics, he's got much more of an olive skin. Okay. So that's what we're going to be shooting for today. And so let's get started. What I have poured out, and I poured out way too much paint, like ridiculous amounts. But what I poured out here, I'll hold it up. Titanium white, burnt umber. That's dark poop. This is a burnt sienna, I think, or sienna, raw sienna, something like that. What you want is dark brown and light brown. They'll be there in the aisle. And then I've got, do you see any black? No. Now, I'm not opposed to black. That's a whole school of thought. There's a big to-do about that in the painting world. But, I go to black these days as an absolute last resort kind of color. So what we're going to do for shadows and things is, believe it or not, we are going to throw in a touch of blue. And this is ultramarine blue. And you'll have a few different blues that you'll see, main blues. You'll see one called phthalo blue, which is a little bit different hue than ultramarine blue. Ultramarine blue is the really, really deep, rich blue. And it works great in skin tones. So we're gonna play around with this here a little bit, and we're gonna see what we come up with. Okay. I'm just gonna spin around here so that we're looking at this flat brush. Okay, and it's a pretty thick. I've got different ones, and flat brushes are my personal favorite. It's what I use for 90% of all my paintings. And then detail brushes, small detail brushes at the end. I'm picking a bigger brush because I have two favorite artists. One is Caravaggio, and we'll talk about him at some point in time because he is a hot mess, babies. And then a guy named John Singer Sargent. And John Singer Sargent was pretty much, he's the rock star portrait painter. And he painted in the late 1800s into the 1900s. I'm going to throw up some stuff of his while I'm talking about him real quick. A lot of what he did that made him unique is that he made edges. So, like these kind of edges, this edge into the background, he made this very, very subtle. So the person just kind of melted in the background, and there wasn't kind of like this real strong kind of outline, and it gave it a much more like realistic and a feel. He also painted light a lot. Um, so again, getting that from like the Impressionists, he wasn't exactly an Impressionist painter, but he did steal like some of their ideas, definitely. An Impressionistic painter would be somebody like Monet, and Monet, a you've seen it. Look it up. Water lilies, Monet. You'll be like, oh yeah, 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 that's Impressionism. So he used a bit of Impressionism. He had very unique brushstrokes. He had just a knack of just getting the essence of a person. So much so that it became kind of a bit of, well, not kind of. I mean, it was like this huge scandal. He painted this picture. I'll throw it up. Boom, there it is. He painted this picture of this lady that he knew who was a socialite, and this, the strap falling off of her shoulder, and the fact that she was, she wasn't like necessarily like attractive, but she just like oozed this like, charisma off the canvas somehow, and he managed to capture that. And he's one of my favorite painters, so you should check him out. But one of the things that John Singer Sargent always said is take the brush that you think that you need and then go up a size and use the biggest brush that you can use in a spot. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to mix up a little skin tone here. And by the way, I'm using acrylic paint. I don't know that I ever talked about that. I'm using acrylic paint because I love oil paint, but I do not have the patience for oil paint. So there's that. So I'm just mixing a little bit of the dark brown, a little bit of the light poop brown, and then we're going to throw in just a tad, just a dollop of white. And we're coming up with this color here. And I have a reference picture that is a still that I took from the interview video. I also have some other pictures that I had Jonathan send me that I could use as reference photos, but for this I wanted to really use something right from the interview itself, just because I wanted to kind of capture his essence of what he was doing it that day. So kind of mid-tones. We're just going to kind of follow the same pattern. This time we're going to be more deliberate about our brush strokes. So I am painting around a form. Artists don't look, especially artists that deal with faces a lot, don't look at people the same way that other people, that non-artists look at people. When I look at people, I see, I can see like that, I see them, but then I see just shapes, shapes, shapes. So everything on your face is a shape of something. Your nose is like, it's a wedge, like a cheese wedge, right? Your eyeballs are spheres, right? Your mouth curves around this lip, right? Your teeth do not go like this, straight across. And then, you'd have like Joker mouth. No, your lip forms around this. Your cheeks come down, that kind of thing. This color kind of goes this way. Here's this hollow, which is always really super important. And so that's what we're going to do is we're going to lay down a little bit of color, just this basic tone. This is not where we're going to wind up. This is just what we're starting with, okay? So we're just going to throw some of this in there. Put on my glasses so I can see something. spot right above your lip. It's usually much lighter before I lost it. I really mucked up this nose pretty bad at the end. Um, One of the most important things that you have to know, and you can only learn it through experience, is you have to know that, at some point you have to learn how to just walk away from the painting and be like, okay, I'm done for right now, or I'm done forever, and just move on to the next thing, because if not, you'll make yourself crazy. What's up with that? See those grazing nostrils? Let's get rid of that. All right, got rid of that. Add a little bit of white to this mixture, a little bit more white. Because on the nose, we got a real big highlight right there. Boom. And you don't have to get crazy, Keep it simple. That's a line. Boom. Here's a line for the nostril with that has a highlight. Boom. Whatever. It's too big. I'll fix it. Boom. So, I think one of the things here that's kind of screwing me up a little bit is I, took this off the recording, and I think it's like a mirror image from what I was actually painting that day, but that's okay. We'll make it happen. Remember that for the future. Okay, so there's some lighter parts of Jonathan's face, and then we're going to go, and you'll see, this is not, you might be like, oh, it's somebody of Asian descent, then, I guess I'll start with yellow ochre. No, you don't start with titanium white with white people. You don't start with ivory black with African American people. You don't start with cad red for Native Americans or Hispanic people. And, you don't start with just yellow for somebody of Asian descent. No, they're not yellow. Here's what I want you to do. Here's an assignment for the week. I want you to go out, and I want you this week to pay attention to people, and I want you to notice the forms on their faces, okay? And I want you to notice what the light looks like on their face, right? How is the light hitting each spot? How does the light color look different here, even though you're under the same light? How does that look different here than it does here, than it does here? And I want you to kind of just really study people. And if they're like, oh, why are you looking at me? Be like, you know what? I'm an artist. Leave me alone. That's what you tell them. Oh, I want to do these eyes, this eye shape, real quick. So I'm going to put this picture of Jonathan up on the screen, and I want you to notice that we've got, see, I gave him really too much eyeball. So this is all very dark. Let me put a little blue in that, make it even darker. So this is very dark. And then all this is really kind of pretty dark. Now, I want you to look what I'm doing. I am not painting eyeballs. I am not thinking about eyeballs at all. What I am painting are shapes that I see. I see a shape that goes like this, and it kind of goes down a little bit like this, and that's the shape. Over here, I see a shape that goes like this, and I don't really kind of see an eyeball. What? How can that be? Your brain will put an eyeball there. Trust me. It knows what it's talking about. You don't really see people's eyeballs straight on like that very often, and usually they're kind of clouded over with various things. So, you know, there's that. Number one. Number two, an important thing to remember with portraits of people of Asian descent is they have different eyelids than, say, Caucasian people or African American people. They have what's called a monolid, and the monolid, basically, you don't have this heavy eyelid. This is all flat, so there's no crease here. Jonathan's nostrils, his nose, that's a big triangle. His nose is a big triangle. And then your nose doesn't just, it has a bottom. Your nose doesn't just stop there and then it's just floating and there's nothing under here. There's something under here, and you have to paint that in order to get a good likeness. And you again, I'm just painting shapes. Brush. Let me grab. John's also got the shadow. There's always usually a shadow underneath the nose. And that's that shape right there. It's kind of a little triangle. There's always a big shadow right underneath the lower lip. He's got pretty good dimple action going on here. So we'll kind of throw those in there real quick. And I'm not getting too exact with this at this point, okay? I know I've got this little bitty brush busted out, but I'm not getting super exact with this. I'm still working on getting everything into place, okay? So that's the point of this. Now you get it to a point where you're like, okay, and you can keep adding layers to this, It doesn't have to be just this layer. You can put more layers on top of it. If you see some yellow or some red in the light reflection, put that in your portrait. That's what makes it cool. Don't be afraid of color, unless you just really want to do like monochromatic stuff. And if so, that's cool too. But, don't stay away from color just because you're staying away from color. It's got a little 5 o'clock shadow going on here. We're just going to pop that in a little bit. And again, I'm still just really kind of putting things into place and not really super concerned about the finer details at this point. And again, I'm just following the form. Now, my man, John Singer Sargent, he would roll from across the room. He would stand from across the room. Listen to this. He would stand from across the room and he would be like, and then he would take his brush and he would run across the room, and he would swipe up a brushstroke. That's dramatic. I'm pretty dramatic, but that's dramatic. And I'm just like adding layers. Like I'm bringing out. I don't want to go like crazy full throttle white with that highlight just yet. I mean, that comes for later, and the highlight will be much smaller than what you would think that it would be. But anyway, that was dramatic. Anyway, so this is coming along. I think it's going to be okay when I'm all said and done with it. What we're going to do is we're going to stop here for right now, and then I will do another video where we will finish this puppy up, and we'll do the details and all the finishing touches and all that kind of good fun stuff, okay? So, I'll talk to you later. Have a great day. Peace be to you. And, you know, be grateful for everything that you have. Talk to you later. Bye.